we might not even have stood up the whole time, right? And then everybody's doing it, and all of a sudden I hear this voice say, "My towel's on fire." And it was like, everybody was completely subdued, right? And I look over and it's just, so I just walk over and I pick up this thing and I'm walking out and nobody like panicked or freaked out or anything, you know. I just like toss it outside, and it came, and it was, I think it was raining out too, so it was like, then I came back in and sat down and it was like nothing happened. It was like, that's the power of like your meditative stillness can be, you know.
I'm sure if the whole place was burning, people would have ran.
No, I think that people would have had some common sense. Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's just a towel.
Yeah. Yeah. Just say your name and your favorite food these days. These days, or what you know what you've been enjoying eating the most these days. Yeah. So I'll start. John. And these days I've been really enjoying macaroni casserole. Yeah, it's been a big item these days. Yeah.
Christine, nachos at Foundation. The world's best nachos.
Yeah.
Amanda, seaweed soup.
Oh.
It's not just seaweed.
That'll cure it.
It's the seaweed that makes it.
Yeah.
I haven't got long enough to tell you.
I'm sure it's extremely healthy.
Oh yeah.
That takes care of the body first of
This guy? I like, I just like food.
Food, just in general.
Yeah. I like
Broad category that's known as food.
I like sweet, I like spicy, I like it all. Yeah.
Right. So we have to settle for your answer.
My next story then.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
go next, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm Irma. Hi. And I've been eating a lot of Thai food lately. So courses. Madly liking Thai food.
Anything. Oh yeah. Yeah. Cookies.
I
Right.
know cookies.
Yes. Cookies.
Shamatha, hello. My favorite foods these days. So my first two things that came to mind, the first two things that came to mind were ice cream and vanilla bean cake from the original cakery here. But I'm not allowed to eat either of those things. So I think all other foods right now are not my favorite. Like it's just
You're low par.
I can't list anything that I like right now because I can't have my food, which sounds really
Tormented by it.
yeah, it sounds like I'm punishing myself, but really I'm just taking things that I've been eating in excess and moving them into my diet until I can bring them back in.
Oh, I see. So this is a voluntary,
This is
voluntary, like
I
I'm.
had 9.5 pieces of cake recently one day.
Oh.
I was like,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I'm gonna not have cake for a little while.
The light went on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Momoko. I like to eat Thai food as well.
Thai food.
Yeah, I like to bake cakes and cookies as well.
Thai food, cakes and cookies. Someone come in?
So hopefully about you.
Something about Vancouver is you can have just about anything you want. Probably anything. Hello. Oh, hello again.
Hi there.
Hi. Well, we just all went around and said our names and we said our favorite food, but not like favorite food these days. It's kind of hard to answer that question. So now you have to do it.
Okay. Jasmine from Vancouver. My favorite food is Japanese.
Japanese food. So,
Sorry,
Oh,
you,
no.
you kind of implied that for yourself you had no favorite food.
yeah, I'm like kind of like in the variety of like Maersk and Wesley where I really, really enjoy food. And I think pasta is way up there. Like if I go to a restaurant, I'll just order spaghetti, right? But I find that I'll go in phases where I'll see, like, this is good food, this is good, and then I think attempt something different, like that. We need different flavors. I don't know, cause it's funny. Food is interesting. In that, food is such a thing where we go to food, right? We go to food to calm us down. We go to food to like get some kind of like escape sometimes. Sometimes you go to food on like desperation. Um, and that's like the nature of there's a word called samsara that gets thrown around a lot recently. This is a Tibetan Buddhist studio, and samsara really only means the cycle. It means the cycle of the cycle of cyclic existence, really. And that's a very very long story made very very short would be being forced into a situation where you're in this continuous cycle of being born, getting old, getting sick, and going through all these highs and lows in the middle, and never being satisfied, for long periods of time, and then dying, and then starting again. And one of the qualities of that type of cyclic life is that you're never satisfied. And for long. We can reach satisfaction for short periods of time, and that's why it is said that if you're in that type of existence, which really only means it's not a location, right? It's a state of mind. This samsara or this cycle. You can be I mean, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 of us here. There could be 8 samsaras in here and 2 nirvanas. No problem. In the very same room. Right? There could be like 10 nirvanas in this room. No problem. There could be 10 Buddha paradises, and like it's all relative to the person who is experiencing the thing. And as we've seen in these classes in meditation, watching the mind, watching the thoughts arise, you can start to get a taste of how it is that the things that are arising in your mind, you're experiencing those things. And so if you're in a heightened consciousness, these things that are arising from like the crystal clarity of your mind are very pleasant in a continuous basis, in a continuous recycling basis. But if your mind hasn't attained extreme clarity on reality, and if a being hasn't gone through what they need to go through in order to reach the permanent, say, like end of like mental strife, you have to put a lot of time into achieving that. You have to learn how to be very, very loving and compassionate in the world and very kind to others. So if you're not in that place, because anything that we reach for satisfaction, because that satisfaction ends, then they say that everything in this realm is actually made of suffering, in the sense that it will lead to suffering because we're bummed out when it ends. And there's a place that we can reach. There's a place that is reachable that is not touched by that type of high and low, where and the beginning of that is really contentment. And it starts small in a way. It starts off by being content with who you are and being content with where you're living, content with the people that are around you, and being content with the things that you have, and it incrementally grows until you reach satisfaction. Because until you're satisfied, you can never be satisfied. It will never last, because the satisfaction is a state of being. It is not something that you can get from a cookie or a casserole, right? You can't actually get it from those things. Unfortunately, it looks like it's possible. Unfortunately, it looks like, unfortunately, it can really seem like 9 pieces of cake is a bloody good thing to do. I've been there, man. Don't worry. I've been alone with a box of donuts. Yeah, I'm a real sucker for Safeway donuts, the cinnamon sugar ones. I try not to buy them for the same reason, because I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue to eat them, and I will enjoy every single one of them. But there'll be a part of my mind that's thinking, well, maybe you shouldn't. But there's the other part of my mind going, whatever. I should. So I relate to it. Yeah.
Did you just talk about the hungry ghosts?
Did I just talk about hungry ghosts?
Yeah.
Not on purpose. Maybe you heard me talk about hungry ghosts.
Is that the idea of a tiny little mouth?
Yeah,
and a
like
great big belly?
right. The hungry ghost in Tibetan Buddhism, the hungry ghost, otherwise known as craving spirit or preta, is they're not human, and they live in this intermediate realm, called the bardo. And if you have a consciousness that's at a certain level, you can actually see these kinds of beings. And if not, you can't, and then you have to buy the idea logically. But yeah, a craving spirit, their bodies, they say, are these big round bellies, and but extremely small throats, and they can never get enough of anything. And if whatever they see brings up desire in them. But if they see something like a cool glass of water, it may look like a cool glass of water at first, but then as soon as they reach out for it, like it turns into pus and blood or something. And they try to drink it, and it just burns them all the way down. And so that's how that story goes on the craving spirit. And I wasn't talking about craving spirits specifically. I was talking about just the regular human um, capacity for always wanting something, and when we get it, being happy for a month or a week or a day, and then that thing no longer provides what we thought it would, and then it turns into a problem. A lot of times it actually turns into the exact opposite, which is it becomes a problem. So, but we can experience craving spirit, hungry ghost types of experiences. We definitely can experience those. Like I know I did once for sure. I remember I went through a phase where I couldn't drink enough water, where my belly was really full of water, but there was some insatiable thing inside of me that wanted more water. I wanted cold water, and I kept drinking it. I was getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and it felt so good to drink it, but I was getting fuller and fuller. That was, I think, an experience like that. And there was no way, I couldn't have drunk enough water to scratch that itch. It would have been impossible, right? And I think that's kind of like that, you know. I think another way of looking at that too, like where the human experience verges onto like hellish kinds of experiences, or those kinds of experiences are like if you get up in the morning and the alarm didn't go off or something, and you're late for work, and you're like freaking out because you're worried about what people think about you, and then you're on your way out the door, but then you realize you don't have your keys. And then you can't find your keys, and you're looking everywhere, and that's that frantic state while you're looking under, and you're looking 5 times in the same place, and you keep looking back in the same place, but they're still not in the same place, right? And you keep looking and looking, and I think like certain beings are in that kind of a state all the time. That's like their level of their being. So that's what's good about being a human, especially in a place like Vancouver, because they say that it sucks just enough. Right? It sucks just enough for you to want to do something about it, and it's not so bad that you can't do anything about it. Right? We're not, in this city, we're not worried about getting bombed. We can practice any religion that we want to. People are not going to come to your door at night and say, you're out 3 joules practicing Tibetan Buddhism. Well, renounce that or go to jail right now. That's happening. Or die. Right? And so, if we can get a handle on this, and because it's like a paradisical realm here. It's close to a paradisical realm. It appears that way, but if you pay close attention, you'll notice that nobody's happy. Like, permanently. People have levels of happiness, and maybe people argue that I'm not suffering, but the end of suffering that I'm talking about is like a permanent end, a continual end to the mental trauma, mental affliction that accompanies any up or down. And so that's a big draw to why we should still our mind, right? And to learn to meditate and meditate daily. Because then you can start to see, like there's something about when you notice you've eaten the 9th piece of cake, when something goes, like that's important for us to, those kinds of things where you go, okay, I should probably maybe not do this and avoid this camp for a while. And that takes a certain clarity of mind, right, to actually realize that. Just like in meditation, you can begin to have a certain clarity of mind, and then begin to directly experience thoughts of anger or jealousy or blame towards other people or situations in your life, that you can gain a direct understanding that it's not those things, it's just your mind. doing its dance. And you're either like Pinocchio, right, or you're free. Yeah. And there's so many ways you can get there. You know. I teach Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, but that's not how I got started. And my I mean, I think possibly my greatest passion right now in my life right now is to see a unification of I don't know, dogma, religion, faith, like where because it has to end up that way. Like as a consciousness, a planetary consciousness, for all religions to be correct, and for all philosophies to be correct, they have to meet somewhere. And if everyone was all of a sudden correct, then nobody would be arguing about what they believe to be true. And so, you know, I go to church, you know, I sing in church, and I teach certain kinds of meditation, and I teach Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, and I teach yoga, and really the most exciting thing to me ever is the unification of people. And that, if we want to see that in the world, that direct unification starts within ourselves. We have to still our mind enough to see the possibility of that. If our mind is like all janked out and up and down all the time and getting pulled around, it's too hard to see the possibility of a grand unification. Because that's why I brought these two books, because this is Padmasambhava, and he talks a lot about Dzogchen practice, and that's very, very deep meditative practice, and to achieve the goals in something like a book like this would advertise, you have to have reached a very, very solid platform of stillness to be able to fall into the luminous clarity, the luminous bliss and clarity, non-conceptual clarity of your mind, and be able to live from that place and relate to yourself as that, and meet the world as that. That's a whole other kind of a being. And then we have this book, Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross, and he's a meditator, but he is like a Christian mystic, and he's going for God, right? This guy's going for clarity of mind. This guy's going for God, and he's going like full steam for God. And how can they be different if each one of these places leads you to complete clarity, leads you to feel like you're united with everything that you see, and leads you to this place of love with every being that you see? How can they be? How can one fight the other? You know. Because this book talks about an absence of things. This book talks about the great positivity of things. And they're the same thing, just experienced from a different standpoint. Because they both open up into the same kind of realm, or the same kind of mind. The bottom line is, if we have one little discursive thought about another being, we're not done yet. Then there's a little bit of work to do. If you go through the day and you have one little thing like, oh, about someone, even if it's small, then not quite finished. Maybe you're really close. Maybe you're walking around all day and you're rejoicing in all beings, and you're being generous and loving, and you feel very great. And but you're not complete yet. And this is what's possible. You can reach this place of permanent joy and satisfaction through meditation, and through meditation, and then acting on what you discover in meditation in the world, so that the unification not only becomes between you and quote unquote your outside of reality, whatever that is, right? What your outside, what is that exactly? Can you point to an outside reality that you're not, that's not being seen by you, right? Because everything affects everything else. If you reach satisfaction, you're just satisfied. Everything's satisfied. If you reach unification, total harmony within yourself, then it's all across the board. There's no difference between whether you're sitting there like this, looking like a meditator, or when you open your eyes and stand up and walk to work. Because you become so unified, your life isn't compartmentalized into sections. Okay, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, I'm doing this. You have an even flow of a sense of being that is in love. Yeah, just in love. So I thought that we could start the meditation tonight with something that's very, very handy to do if you're sitting down and your mind is unsatisfied. If your mind is jumping around and you can't quite get it to settle, there's something that you can do for the same amount of time that you would be doing like a meditation, and that is a pranayama practice. You could do 30 minutes of pranayama practice and easily have the same feeling as you would have if you sat down and reached stillness pretty quickly and sat there for 24, 25 minutes and were still. Pranayam can give you that. It's simply working with the breath. And that is a huge, huge story, which I'm not even going to try to way too much. Why don't we just actually experience it instead? Yeah. So maybe let's all stand up. Take it out. So this type of practice should be done sitting out, either in a chair or on a cushion. Has anyone in this room never done any pranayama practice? You probably have. Maybe not. Right. Well, the good thing is it's super easy. It's really simple and profoundly rewarding, I think, for most people. So I'll just say a few things before we start. I think, and I've heard from many teachers, that the single most important element of doing any kind of breath work, pranayama practice is relaxation. And truly, I think that that is the most important aspect of anyone's meditation practice. It really is relaxation. When you reach the peak of your meditative practice, And when you reach, when you actually, your mind goes and unites with the divine, unites with God, or sees ultimate reality, however you want to put it, it will be from a place of complete still relaxation. So if you have any sort of irritant or anxiousness going on, can't go to those places. This has to come from relaxation. And the reason why breath work it's so vital that you're relaxed is because it's a powerful practice. And if you try to push, if you try to achieve something, right? This is like a curse. It can be a curse. I'm going to get her done tonight, right? In these 30 minutes, I'm going to accomplish something that you don't even understand. Right? And then what happens is your channels, your prana get rigid, and then you end up trying to force energy through energy lines that are twisted up and they're not ready to get stuff pushed through, and then you can blow a gasket or something and then feel weird for a year. You can have you can do a crazy pranayama practice and be feel pretty crazy and ungrounded and loopy for a day, for 2 weeks, a week, a year. It's so. I want to say right now, relaxation. If you feel any kind of like, then just like okay, chill. So we'll start. So first we begin with our posture. So wherever you are, whether you're in a chair or whether you're sitting cross-legged or any kind of sitting pose, start to take your mind and focus on the parts of your body that are touching any other surface. And begin to relax into those surfaces and feel like by doing that, you're calling up this downward moving energy. A really nice practice before you do pranayama actually is to visualize an energy band. Let's do it like this. Visualize a circle of energy around your waist, like you're wearing a belt. And let's just say for now, and you may see a different color, I'm just going to say gold. A golden light, a soft, a warm golden light around your belly and like around your hips and around the lower back. And then visualize that band of light descending down through your legs and through the cushion or chair and through the floor. And it keeps on going through the foundation of this building and then through the earth underneath this building and keeps on going, and then it finally reaches the center of the planet, and you visualize it rooting into the center of the planet. And sit there for a few moments and visualize a flow of light. You can visualize it possibly like a waterfall or a light fall, but whatever you're seeing, it's not static. It's got a gentle flow to it. This is a great way to calm the mind and get yourself grounded. So now that we have a nice heaviness, in a sense, from the waist down, grounding the earth, then we begin to concentrate more on the spaciousness from the waist up. And let's get that opened up even more by taking a nice deep inhale, and as we inhaling, drawing the crown towards the sky. And then as you exhale, you keep that crown drawing towards the sky as your shoulders relax. You feel like your heart is lifted and open, but not in a way that requires effort. Jaw is relaxed. And if you have a nice grounding happening, you can feel like you're almost floating from the waist up in a sense, but with a nice anchor. And so try and find your center place. You want to find the place where you're sitting with the straightest spine as possible, with the least amount of effort. So you can do a gentle rock back and forth and even side to side, and you may find that there's a magic spot where it feels like you're sitting upright, attentive, alert, but not tense. Now just do a little body scan. And notice if there's any tension mounting. Any tension anywhere that's perceptible. And on an inhale, fill that with light. And on the exhale, let it go. Become even more relaxed. Now we're going to take 3 full breaths. So begin by first exhaling. The belly comes all the way in. And then gently inhaling, expanding through the belly, expanding through the mid-ribs, up into the backs of the shoulders, till you feel like you're breathing into the crown of your head. And then allow the exhale to happen. Shoulders drop a bit, probably. Chest comes in, followed by the belly. So do 2 more of those. And you may begin to already notice that your mind is calming down, and you may begin to notice already that there's a pause between the inhale and the exhale. And the exhale, I mean. Let that pause be. And just simply allow the next phase to happen. Don't try to make your inhale happen or make your exhale happen. Just follow it. Okay, so now we're ready for our first practice. It's clearing the left and right channels. It's also called Agnisari Dati. It's called Nadi shoulder. Clearing the channels. So how we begin is you can open your eyes and what's a nice practice is to place like your ring finger or your middle finger, whichever is more comfortable, on your ajna or your third eye, just gently. And then taking your thumb and very, very gently pressing it into the crease of your right nostril. And you'll notice that it doesn't take much pressure to close off the flow of breath. And what we'll do is you then gently inhale through the left nostril. When you reach the peak of your breath, you change so that then your ring finger is closing off the opposite nostril and then exhaling through the right nostril. And then inhaling again through the right nostril. And then at the peak of your inhale, switching so that you're again closing off the right nostril and then exhaling through the left nostril. So this is very relaxing. And typically in a pranayama practice, you would do this 10 times. So the cycle would be, one whole cycle would be the whole inhale, exhale, that's one cycle. It's easy to remember what to do because all you really need to remember is at the peak of your inhale, before the exhale, you switch nostrils. And it's the only time you switch nostrils. If you find that this creates tension in the arm and you can support your elbow with the other hand, if that helps. So close your eyes and continue, and I'll be quiet. Just allow your breath to be smooth and fine and relaxed. And take notice if there's any sense of grasping. In other words, if you're inhaling and it's like, then you're trying to extend your breath for too long of duration. In the beginning of a pranayama practice, you just want your breath to be quite natural. It's only in the later stages of possibly weeks and months of practice that you would then have a longer breath, which will happen on its own naturally. So don't force it. When you've done 10 rounds, take a little bit of time. Then you relax your hands on your thighs and return to that easy, relaxing full breath. the next practice that we do after Radhashodhana is called Kapalabhati, also known as skull shining breath. There's probably a lot of people who have already heard this breath. How you do this breath is you inhale, but you do a chest breath, so you don't do a full belly breath. You inhale up into your chest. And then how you're going to breathe after that is you're actually going to be forcing the breath out your nostrils by simply drawing your belly forcefully in. So you're going to be pushing the breath out of your nostrils by drawing in your belly. And the breath is going to come back in like a vacuum by relaxing the belly. So it will be like a pushing it out and then just a letting go of the belly. And then the breath will draw itself back in. And you don't want to be like, right? You just want to be like relaxed, and you fill up with chest breath, and then you're. It will sound something like that. The visualization that can coincide with that, you can call to mind a diamond, a tiny diamond in the center of your head, floating there in the center of your head. And every time you go, you draw the belly in, you can visualize that from the deep belly there's a light that is shooting up and striking this diamond and lighting it up, making it brighter each time. And so you may feel like a glow begin to happen in your inside your skull and then beyond. So we'll do that. Is any questions? That's pretty simple, straightforward. Yeah. So we're going to do 3 rounds of that, and do between 15 and 30 repetitions. 30 if you're like really want to, if you're maybe you've done it before. 15 if you haven't. And then when you're done, relax and do a couple of full breaths. And then do your next round. So let's begin together. Another round. One more time. Relaxing breath. Keep your eyes closed as I talk about the next practice. The next one is called Ashvini Mudra. And this is an interesting practice of clenching your sphincter, your anal sphincter. And it has this result where it's connected to your channels, and it's your first chakra Muladhara practice. And what you're going to do is, if you can't imagine what it's like to clench your anal sphincter, then you can just imagine, to get maybe the first one, imagine you're in a crowded elevator and you have to fart. And you don't want to fart. And so you're holding it in. And that will give you the sensation of what it's like to actually do it. And possibly the most important part of this practice is the relaxation of the sphincter. So you can tense it up, and then you have to allow it to relax before you do the next squeeze. So we're going to do, again, between 15 and 30 of those. And it will be important to you squeeze and then just allow, completely relax. So it's going to take a little bit of time. You're not going ding, 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 ding. You're just like squeezing and relaxing, squeezing and relaxing. And again, you may find this happens on its own, but you can also imagine, again, that there's light coming up through your center and igniting this diamond that's in the center of your head again. Or just concentrate on the exercise itself, and you may just notice a result with it. But, so we'll start, and we'll do 3 rounds of those. And then again, between rounds, you're going to do a couple of deep relaxation breaths. Breath of relaxation. Relaxation breath. Now the next practice that we'll do is Agnisara Danti. A little more complicated. Some some people here already know this practice. So for those of you who don't, how this practice is accomplished is, and you'll find if you have a full belly, this is going to be more difficult. It's best done early in the morning, and it also may make you feel like you have to go to the bathroom. So you need to do that, feel free to jump out the door if you're doing any practice. So if you're sitting, the best thing to do is to place your hand on your thighs and lean forward. So you want to, and you feel like you're leaning forward, so that what you're doing is you're creating space between like your ribs and down in here. You're creating a spacing. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be like bellowing your belly, right? And this is going to require a retention of the breath on the exhale. So you're going to be exhaling all your breath and then holding your breath out of your body and then pumping your belly. So this is a very powerful practice, and the most important thing is you should never go so long that you're done, and you're like, if you do that, then you've done too many and you've held for too long, which may mean that you don't do it for very long at all, which may mean that you only do it for a few seconds, or maybe you do 3 or 4 times. You'll know. So I'll just demonstrate one. So you're going to feel it the most if you expel all of your breath. And you can expel all of your breath by doing like a at the very end. And when I'm going to do this, when I do that, my belly will be empty, and my belly will be drawn like kind of up. And then when you're there, if you actually try to inhale a little bit at this point, it will do this natural thing where it locks your jalandhara, it'll lock your throat, and then this can then hang open, and you can just begin to pump it, and will have a result of affecting your energy. So I'll just do one. So look at this. Pretty short, but that's an example of, you should come out like this, just very smooth, very relaxed, no strain whatsoever. If there's any sense of straining and you need breath, then you gotta go shorter. So you couldn't really see what was happening, but it's pretty clear what's gonna happen there? Okay, so we'll do 3 rounds, and you're not counting, you're gauging how long you can go and remain relaxed and have a relaxed inhale. So maybe you want to try for 5 or 7 or 8, depending. Maybe those of you who have done it will go longer. So let's do 1 round. And then you're going to do a couple of relaxing breaths between. One more round. Final round. Just sit, close your eyes, and enjoy. You would probably feel different if I hadn't been yakking through this whole thing, if you had done it in a stream, but at least you have an idea. So just close your eyes now. to enjoy your relaxed breath. And this is a good time to begin to relax even deeper by placing your attention on the very deep and silent pause between the exhale and the inhale and the inhale and the exhale. So make that your object now. As they come. So now with a very relaxed breath, we're trying to clearly notice the very moment that it changes from an inhale to an exhale, that place between. The good thing about this kind of practice is if you lose your object, you have another chance between each breath. To come back and focus on the pause. If you'd like to try going deeper, you can see if you can remain focused on the mysterious place that is the pause, and try and keep your focus gently aware of that as the next breath starts. If you begin to drift away, it becomes wishy-washy. Return your focus. Wait for the next pause. Notice it. And then as the breath starts, try to remain focused on that place that you notice. as you continue to breathe. We're going to slowly come out of this meditation. Like always, very gently, begin by just gently opening up the eyes, with the eyes cast downwards. You take in the surroundings. And as you open up your eyes, maybe you'll still feel like your mind is resting in the pause between the breath. Maybe not. But each time you come out of any meditation, you should at least try to stay anchored in some place that you may have reached in your meditation, so that one day there will be no difference. Is pranayama not awesome? You feel that? Did you feel like after, see, in a way, I'm sorry that it wasn't a true representation, because it definitely would be different if you did this on your own. And maybe you can get the audio and do it and get proficient enough at it to just run it. You'll notice the difference between someone talking and then doing breaks between. But did you notice that when we were done all four of those practices, that did it feel like you were like really ready, or you could have meditated for a long time, or you reached this place, this body and mind place where you're just like, cool, let's meditate now, or right? Anybody want to share anything or make a comment, or anything want to add or experience they discovered, or anything that anybody wants to say about that last minute?
Kind of feel light in my mind during state of contraction. The idea of visualizing a diamond in the center of my mind and a channel which made me just
Yeah, it
there
is
was a sense, there was
an experience. Nice.
meditation is still just
Yeah, sure.
just closing my eyes, at any time, still feel that the light is changed because I know it's not really grounded and safe. It's just kind of that.
Yeah. Then you'll probably really enjoy doing pranayama practice. Yeah, maybe this whole class was just for you. You never know, because there are so many ways to go, and I think my teachers were here And one of the things they said about pranayama is it has a way of bypassing the mind, where you can go directly somewhere where the ruminating mind doesn't really get to do its tricks, right? And then eventually, that will probably lead you to a place where, when you do meditate, something will have happened, right? Where it's not so maybe dark and chaotic or scary place to go, to then think, okay, I'm turning inward. Uh-oh. Instead of more like, okay, I'm turning inward, it's exciting. So when you start to gain some inroads into your inner sense of light or it becomes exciting. It becomes like something that you can't wait to do after work or before work. You're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through it again. What will I discover today? And some days they're better than other days. But if you do it daily, the rewards are, you can't even imagine them. You can't imagine the rewards. If you put in, if you meditate for 4 years, say, you can't even, you can't imagine, I guarantee you that you cannot imagine the result that you will experience in your life. But you have to put in that time, right? You'll experience certain benefits. You'll experience a stiller mind and a clear consciousness. You'll experience more presence pretty quickly, maybe after the first 6 months, maybe even sooner. But other kinds of deeper results, reality-shifting results, which no job can give you, right? No food can give you. Nothing worldly can give you will arise in your mind after years. Those kinds of things. And taking the pause between the breath, that's a very powerful object. There's something about the pause between the breath that is can be very much like, as we talk about watching the parade of thoughts or whatever, and there's this expression called mind the gap or whatever. You're eventually trying to focus on the gap between. That can be a natural way to reach that place, is the gap between the inhale and the exhale. Because everything's related, Everything's so related. And the in breath and the out breath, the morning and the night, and the day, the night. I mean, death, birth, like it's all, just take it down, and as your meditative stillness increases, then you begin to see the grand, what do you call it, the big macro and micro or whatever, like the macro system, and then as you get really, really clear with your micro system, then you begin to see that it entirely directly relates to the entire macro system. Because how are you going to blow the illusion of time if you can't get your mind down to like microcosmic, right? Between what exactly? You have to find it. Yes.
Focusing on the pause between the breaths, I begin to control my breath.
Right.
And then I can't breathe.
Then you can't breathe.
Then my life becomes, and suddenly I'm starving, I'm lost.
Right. And that's really good to notice that, because that's your cue, right? As soon as you feel that that's your cue, you're trying to control, then you retreat and start over, right? Don't try to continue from that point and salvage something from that. Then you just go, okay, I'm doing that, and you stop, and you just relax, and you begin to breathe again. And then try to focus on the pause if focusing on the pause repeatedly continues to bring up like anxiety or makes you like that, then I would just stop doing that for a while, and then go back to the meditations where you're just simply being with your body as your body breathes, or being with the mental image of your body breathing.
I tend to control my breath too. Yeah, but then the additional there was this guy who was saying, okay, where's the gas? Let's go.
Uh-huh.
There it is. And that was the next going away. So okay, that way you don't and now the next one is let's go.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? We're so funny. The things that we do. It's very entertaining. Can be. Because there's a, because you're shifting, because you are shifting, because in the pranayama you are controlling the breath to a certain degree. Maybe less so in Nagashodhana. So, but when you shift into the meditation part of it, trying to let go of that control, right? And it's very educational. It's very educational to see what comes up in the mind around that whole process. That's one of the great things if you're taking time to meditate, is that you can take something like what Wesley was talking about, and you're noticing like, oh, I can't stop this urge to control the breath or make the announcement, I can't help it. If you're coherent at that time, you can then use that practice. You can then go, why? Then you can sit there and go, what am I afraid of? What do I think is going to happen? Why do I feel the need to? And then you then turn your object of meditation into the feeling itself of some kind of need to control the breath. And you try, and then you like look at that feeling. You're like, what is that feeling? What would happen if I did just let go? And why can't I? And then you're like, okay, I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? Okay, I want to be in control. I want control. Why do I want control? Can I control it? Kind of very great insights into our psyche, into what is making us tick in the world, right? And how we're associating with other people in the world, simply by getting down to a simple movement of the mind of, I don't know, everyone's going to be different, but needing it to be something. Like I know for myself when I was beginning this kind of practice, what I found shocking to me was how completely unpredictably choppy my breath was. Like I'd be like breathing, doing the pranayama, and then I start to do the non-controlled breath thing, and it seemed to me like I was riding in like a wagon train with like one broken wheel, and it was like right, and it's like whoa, and I'd be like, what the heck, what's wrong with me? I have a problem. My breath is not smooth. And then I go, okay, no, I'll smooth out my breath. I'll be the kind of person with a smooth breath, even though nobody's watching. I'll be the John with a smooth breath, and someone somewhere will know. Right? And I found that if I simply allowed that janky, rocky breath to be, it would run it would, the course of whatever that was would run itself out, and then it would fall into its own natural rhythm. And I began to enjoy whatever it was, whether it was this janky thing or I was deeply exhaling or inhaling. I just began to know that if I just was with what was going on, then I could be very present and actually enjoy whatever it was, simply because I was choosing to be ready for whatever was going to come next. Because what you're going to find out, if you haven't found out already in your meditation, is that mind, right? That ruminating mind that will give us no rest, that we notice very clearly when we meditate. That narrator, what it's doing is it is veiling the present time. It won't allow you to be in like the electrifying free fall of the present moment, which is constantly changing and it's constantly new. You can be in a room with someone and every single second that goes by is constantly new. And at first, that can be frightening because the tendency to want to control the breath, right, wants to creep in and then like label the situation. The mind wants to know how this person sees me. I'm not going to be comfortable if I don't know how this person sees me. And not only that, but I really want them to like me. When you get a still mind, then you begin to see that not only will you never know how this person sees you, you have no control over it anyway. And then you can really begin to experience people and become a very, very good listener. You know, someone's speaking and you're just like your radar is fully on and you're experiencing every moment of this person. You're giving them the blessing of your full attention. And then you get to have the beauty of watching that tendency to think, okay, here comes the next breath, controlling the breath, is related to the tendency to then be listening to someone talk and you already have like a response back in your mind. You've already decided, oh, they're talking about this, and maybe I'll show them that I know already, and you'll say, oh, you mean, right? And they're like, no, it's not what I meant. And all you've done is show them that you weren't listening, right? And so part of becoming a very good meditator is being a good listener. So a good listener to your own mind, because then you are listening to the world and to the people around you, listening and you're being attentive. Because then each day can be full of that. Because, okay, here's one more question before we end. When we were doing the pranayama, and then we were finishing the pranayama, and then we were beginning to just sit, was there something that you wanted? Was there something that was not good enough? You're saying yes, there was something that wasn't good So some of you are going to say, yeah, there was something that wasn't good enough. Some of you are going to say, oh, I never thought of it. That's the thing. Oh, I never thought of it. Oh, I never thought of it. That's what it's like to be spontaneously, not like spontaneously in the moment. Because when you're content, you're not aware that you're content. Like in a certain sense. Like when you're satisfied and you don't you're not having a pining for I wish this was different. You don't know that that's happening. Because what? Oh yeah, I never thought of it. Right? Never thought of it. And that is the very tricky thing about the spiritual evolution is because there's a part of us that wants to attain. There's a part of us that wants to be able to say, I have reached contentment, me. You know, behold my contentment, and I know I'm content. Every second that goes by, I'm content. Right? Well, that's not what it's going to be like. There's going to be an absence of that. There will be an absence of it. So, you know, like the you, right? The you that is not that, you know, won't ever experience that. Which is interesting. Which is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's like at some point in time, your meditation, and maybe some of you have already experienced this, but you will experience your mind will become so still that your breath actually stops. But you're not going to know that. You only notice that your breath will stop when you start breathing again. Because in order for you to be so still that your breath stops for long periods of time, your mind is somewhere else. Your mind is in a place that doesn't need constant compliments, right? Your mind is in a place that doesn't need a commentary because everything is enough. Whatever you're experiencing is enough. So really, meditation in the beginning is really about reaching just contentment. Just reaching contentment. And if you can reach contentment, then you have achieved a major thing in your life. And then after that, you know, the sky's the limit after that. But the doorway is contentment. Is there any other questions before we close the class tonight? Anyone want to say anything about their meditation practice or any questions about the meditation practice they'd like to ask? And there is no such thing as a silly question because everyone always benefits from the questions if anyone feels like asking a question about whatever they're going through, or even if you want to share something you've experienced.
At the end of the last we just did,
Yeah.
as I was focusing on the space during the inhale and exhale, my mind started to wander at that point, and I was focused on my heart.
Mm.
And so I was very aware of the sensation in my heart, in my chest, and we were so relaxed that it slowed down to almost the same rhythm as my breathing. far in those 3 breaths. I didn't have the thought of wanting more of the brightness. It was only once we had stopped that I started to think, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want more of that. But in the moment, it was just wasn't. Yeah.
Awesome.
But it was the furthest away from the room that I thought.
Cool.
It was very short. 2 breaths, 3 breaths.
Nice.
And then it came back. But I really enjoyed that exercise. Breathing.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
The closest thing that I can relate to that, when you say the brightness blossoming, is during the pranayama for me. When we were doing the sphincter contractions and releases, but I knew the brightness was there and I wanted more of it, and then as if like grasping for fog, it was gone.
Yeah.
That makes
It does make perfect sense. Yeah. 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 Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I've done many of those kinds of meditations where, where you reach a place where you realize that if you reach for it, it's going to disappear, and um, it's tricky. It can be tricky to be continuously like letting go, continuously like surrendering that want, that thinks that the want is going to be what's going to get you somewhere. Yeah, nice. Anyone else?
What I would have was opposites. When I would breathe in, I'd be so comfortable, and at the gap there, I was complete bliss, and I could stay there forever. Like I wasn't breathing, like I was just hanging out there, and I'm thinking, after one, I guess I should breathe out
You
now.
should exhale. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but then I would do that, and then at the end of that, I'm desperate for
Breath.
breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
While up top, I'm like totally, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like everything's cool, but down here it's like,
Yeah.
really like opposites from.
Yeah. So when that begins to happen, what you should do then is then when you're up. So I don't know if you're experiencing this, but sometimes if you're up and you're in the pause of the inhale, you can sit and feel like, am I ever going to exhale? And then be constantly inhaling in a sense. You're like almost like constantly bringing it more in, and you know, like, where's it going? Where's it going? Something's going on, right? And that's part of the whole deal about this, is blowing the illusion of breath. That there's a part of us that doesn't need breath to live. But then that can be, that can be loon inducing. Loon means a wind disorder, where a kind of a frantic energy can build out of that, especially at the top of the inhale. And if you then finally exhale and then realize, oh no, I need breath now, that's your gauge to let you know that the next time you go up, purposely release sooner. So that you think, okay, I'm going to release sooner, and then come back down. And then gauge, okay, did I need to grasp for breath again? If you still did, then release a little bit sooner next time. And then try and find this place, okay, I didn't, and then so that you can then you can bridge the gap between, and then create some balance, because you don't want to suffer that from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would do to remedy that. Anybody else?
What are you doing with your breath when you do the actual withdrawal?
Just not one, but
Just normal breath.
yeah. not worrying about it.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy how that Ashwini Mudra thing works.
Yeah.
You'd never think something like that would. Yeah, Ashwini Mudra. Yeah. The first time I did that, I was like, what? Because I had that same thing. I'm like, oh, how does that work? And where you're like, all of a sudden you are experiencing some light. And you shoot out.
And energy in my body.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that it's called a pranayama practice, but it's actually not really a breath practice. Right? Outside of just being relaxed.
Something else I just wanted to say as well, to add on very quickly, is that before I got into meditation, like years and years ago, I remember I was hiking through some mountains in England, and I was standing there with a friend looking at the view, and I remember just being completely, not even thinking, just experiencing the view. And this happened regularly, like, because there were so many beautiful views. And then it wasn't until one of us said, or he said, what a beautiful view, that it was gone. And it was like as soon as you put words to something, like it's kind of disappeared because you're throwing a label on it, right?
Yeah.
But just experiencing the view and not trying to control it and just being in the moment was the experience of the bliss. And I just thought that's like, it transfers into so many areas, well, every area of my life.
Well, it does because we want to capture it, right?
Yeah.
And we want, like, that's the whole thing. I remember being very confused about like video cameras and when they were first coming out, and it's like, oh, there's a raccoon, run and get the camera. And well, the raccoon's gone now, right? But we, and the same idea. You're like, well, what should I like experience the raccoon, or should I be like so that later I can have the experience again, which is impossible. What are you gonna do? Hey, with your friends, go, hey, you know what? This one time I saw a raccoon, and they're gonna be like, well, that's good for you, man. I'm happy for you that you saw a raccoon that day, right? And then you're like, what? So what are you craving? What are we craving in the moment? And we whip out the camera and try to steal that moment in time, right? It's worthy of some thought. Like, I remember one time I heard a native saying that they say they don't like it when people, certain cultures, they don't like it when people take their picture because it feels like there's someone stealing a part of their soul. And I never understood that for a while, and then I started thinking about it, yeah. Because what do they want? Right? Why would you what do you want from that? There's so many where you can't say, right? You can't, about anything, you can't say. It is this or there's that. It gets too crazy. But I find that in a way they were just pointing at the frenetic, let's capture everything, right? Let's capture everything. Let's own everything for ourselves, right? Instead of like. Anyways, thank you, everybody.
So next week,
Oh yeah, next week.
are you teaching?
Yeah,
Okay, so you too.
yeah, debate and.
Okay.
It's Tuesday the 1st. Oh, sorry, not today, right? I was going to ask, is Tuesday the first time you do philosophy?
Yes, not next Tuesday. We're gonna do Tibetan debate of the course before, and then the following Tuesday, then I will start teaching ACI 12. I'll start teaching Master Shamatha Tibetan Buddhist philosophy chapter 9. And that will run for like 10 Tuesdays. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a real kick-butt course. We talk a lot about that. That's a chapter on wisdom where they talk about ultimate reality a lot. So, yeah. Am I right about what I'm saying about the schedule and because I know that Tuesday's right, but I'm quite sure I'm teaching one more Wednesday. Yeah. And then Sherry comes.
Is that having nothing to hold on to? Is it a linear concept?
You know what? It's not a linear process, like anything else. I know lots of people that have come into these kinds of classes right in the middle, right in the beginning, right at the end, and each course is a course in itself. And yeah, please come. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, meditation.
So meditation next week with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.